Welcome to Tech Transformation with CGT and RIS News. I'm Lisa Johnson, the editor-in-chief of CGT. Now, in Tech Transformation, we talk about the trends and the technologies impacting the retail and consumer goods industries. And so I think, a little extra excited today because we're going to be talking about one of the most buzzed about trends in the industry, and that's generative AI. So with me today is Imteaz Ahamed, Director of Performance Marketing for Nutrition at Reckitt. So Imteaz, welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's awesome having you
so
here.
Welcome. Your kindness really gives me a charge. Happy Monday.
Sorry, I forgot to turn off Alexa.
I kind of want to leave that in because we're going to be talking about...
We're talking about generative AI. And
yes, we're talking about generative AI. All right.
Wait, I need to turn off this one as well. My bad. I've got Alexa in my glasses and one in my office. So I forgot to turn them off. So this is perfect.
This is perfect. I think we need to leave this in. All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us the 30-second background on yourself and what you do at Reckitt.
Sure thing. So Imteaz, I've worked at Reckitt for 14 and a half years across Australia, the UK, Netherlands, and now the US. I started my career in sales. I've done things like shopper marketing, trade marketing, as well as e-commerce. And then as I moved to the UK and global, I was responsible for scaling up e-commerce across the organization. And in my last couple of roles, I've been focusing here in the US in our nutrition business, which means baby formula. And now I manage all the retail media networks, as well as consumer activation and acquisition from a digital perspective on baby formula across the US.
So you're also an ambassador for the MACH Alliance. So I actually just met with them at NRF. Super interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about them and how you got involved?
Sure. So MACH, it stands for Microservice API-based Cloud Native SaaS and Headless, which is a mouthful. But basically, it means to me that we're coming to a space where enterprise solutions for big companies don't necessarily make the most amount of sense anymore, especially when you have so much change and innovation happening at significantly smaller scale. As a big company or as a big organization, we kind of get jealous of people who are much smaller than us that can do things much faster than us. So yeah. So how, my point of view is, as a big company who's always had a suite from one of the big players, how do we kind of change that into having pieces that we like versus pieces that we don't like, and be flexible enough to deploy that globally? So usually, within a big company, you have a situation where one platform needs to service everything. But we're coming into a world now where consumer preferences are very different by region, very different by market, even very different by brand segment within one market, right? So how do you have technology infrastructure that can actually enable people to move fast, enable people to solve consumer problems, rather than this is what we use as a corporation, you must use this, otherwise you can't do your work properly, and I don't really care about what consumers think. This is how we're building our enterprise tech stack. So I'm not a fan of that. I am a fan of flexibility, but it still needs to work. And it still needs to be compliant, be GDPR compliant, CCP compliant. All that stuff is great, but ultimately it needs to be about solving that consumer problem and solving that consumer need, and then extracting the value from that. So MACH really helps in terms of thinking that way and progressing, especially at the enterprise level, of how we choose technology that really, is fit for purpose rather than fit for enterprise.
One thing I love is that you often post on LinkedIn about improving processes through technology. I love you've been focusing or posting a bit about ChatGPT, how you're using it to improve your content workflows. Do you think you're kind of obsessed with efficiencies and using technology to find new ways to do things?
I'm obsessed with finding value, whether that's finding value for our end consumer, our customers, whether that's through giving them additional services that we couldn't offer before, or on the flip side, I'm interested in productivity. How do we do more with less? So technology to me, ChatGPT, generative AI, all of this stuff is an enabler to solving a problem. And when you solve problems, there's an economic opportunity from solving a problem, and you can capitalize on that. So I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with efficiency for efficiency's sake. I think all of this stuff helps us focus on the things that we as humans are good at, rather than being process orientated and letting the machines do what they're good at.
Okay. So let's focus a little bit on ChatGPT and generative AI. Would you mind kind of giving just a quick, if you were going to explain what it is for someone who's listening, they don't know what it is. What is generative AI?
Generative AI basically is artificial intelligence that is creating, for right now, is just creating text based on its input. So you write a question like, write me a blog post about ChatGPT, which is what I did actually on my website, imteaz.com. I got ChatGPT to write about itself on my own website. You can give it prompts like that, and it can generate text for you. There's other forms of generative AI that are creating images for you. There's a really interesting video generative platform called Synthesia, which you plug in a script, and using an avatar, it generates video content for you using one of the avatars that they have pre-built. Or you can record 15 minutes worth of your own avatar, and they will create an avatar for you, which you could then plug in thousands of lines of script, and it will generate that as video content for yourself using your own avatar. So from a scale point of view, as long as you're happy with the quality of that and it's fit like okay enough purpose, it's okay enough for you to use for a specific purpose, which could be something like internal training programs, etc. You could save a lot of time and effort rather than creating from or recording from scratch, which is very time intensive, labor intensive, cost intensive, etc. The other side of this, and where I think it gets even more interesting, is audio to video. So imagine this conversation that we're having right now. Instead of us recording on video, we would just record on audio, and then that audio would be converted into video based on the audio conversation that we're having. So rather than
So I wouldn't have had to put on makeup, and it would have just probably maybe
we could have glammed you up and glammed me up.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe a little younger, maybe a little
anything you want, Lisa. It's fine.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. That's where we're moving. And
so I guess so. My question: do you think this is transformative? Like, obviously, or is it hype? I mean, it's a little bit of both at this point, or do you think it's truly like this is truly transformative? This is the future, and we're just kind of maybe figuring out the kinks right now, but this is the way it's going to be. Like, is it going to be as common as email?
This is going to be huge versus something like metaverse, which I think the metaverse is coming. It is on its way. I think the metaverse and getting into the metaverse requires a lot more hardware and infrastructure and consumer adoption. But generative AI and the applications of generative AI are already here. It's just a matter of time in terms of we're at the beginning of that new wave, and it's just a matter of time before it takes off like crazy.